like Deion Sanders, Devin Hester, Cordero Patterson, all played in Atlanta. Both Hester and Cordero set their records
Yeah.
in Atlanta, which is cool.
I didn't know that CP had that many kick returns. I
Yeah.
knew I knew that he was like known for his kick return game, but I didn't know he had that many.
Yeah.
I also didn't know that the record was only 9. I feel like it should be higher, but
Well,
I
it's just
guess that
kickoff returns.
right,
So it's
yeah,
not, yeah.
because Hester has the most return touchdowns between punt
Right.
returns, kick returns, and I think he even had like a field goal return.
Yeah.
But yeah, the record's only 9 for kick returns, which seems low, but it's also like doesn't happen a ton, so I
Yeah.
guess it makes sense. Um, all right, we should be a rocking and a rolling. I'm gonna check the old YouTube, make sure we're live like we're supposed to be.
Oh, are we live?
Should be.
Man, we've been giving people this good content for this long.
Well, we just started.
Okay.
Started right before the CP talk.
Okay. Have to try to remain in the center
Yeah, we're
since this
live.
is an away game.
Yeah. uh, okay.
I don't know if I have the screen room to also watch on YouTube and like keep up with chat. Let me see.
You can always pop out the chat so we don't have to watch on YouTube also. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Hey, hey.
talking about flea market, Montgomery. It's just like a mini mall. One of the greatest songs of our generation.
Really? Is that what you're gonna do to me? Come on now.
You can just pop out chat. How do I do this? What? Wild.
Crazy, man. Crazy,
Technology crazy.
crazy world we live in.
It is. It's just
Okay. I'll do that. All right. I think I'm ready to roll whenever you are.
I'm ready, man.
All right. Another week, we got more chaos. Craziness happening every week. That's just the NFL world of 2022 that we're living in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Booth Review. As always, I'm your host, Devin Primrose, joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Blake Ivy. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. We're kicking off the Thanksgiving festivities, if you will. And so you're headed here tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yep.
And we're already here visiting your parents.
Yep.
So yeah, just got here a couple hours ago and set up here in the room you're going to be sleeping in. So just wanted to go ahead and get my funk in here for you.
Oh, thanks for that.
So it's nice and ready. Make you feel more comfortable. That's really
Yeah.
what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm excited about celebrating some Thanksgiving. Got a lot to be thankful for. And football is one of them. I'm thankful
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
football. It's the reason why we do this. We love the game. At all levels, enjoy some
Yeah.
college
Yeah.
football. We get some NFL football. So
and
Get some
and
food.
we get some football because the World Cup
Oh
just
yes,
kicked off.
yes. Atlanta, the U.S. tying with Wales. That was such a bummer, man. Like
It was. Took it to the 80th minute, man.
I was watching Wrexham United. I don't. Have you watched that at all?
Uh-uh.
The the docuseries on
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney's team. It's really good. And Rob said in the episode I watched last night, he said he's like, soccer's weird, man. He's like, sometimes a draw is a win, and sometimes a draw is a loss,
Yeah.
and it's like that's so true because I really feel like the game on Tuesday. Wait,
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
Today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
The game, the game on Monday. That was one of those draws that felt like
It
a
was a
loss.
loss. It was 100% a loss. I mean, like it's already going to be tough for the US because we haven't even played in the World Cup in 8 years because
Right.
we've been that
Yeah.
bad.
Not that great.
Yeah, we haven't been good as a men's national team in a long time.
Yeah.
But it feels like we have a good young core that's
Right.
building, and I'm hopeful that in 4 years we can actually be contenders whenever the World Cup is over on our soil. But like starting it off with that draw, I mean they got the goal. I think it was what, like 30 minutes into it, maybe they got that goal.
Yeah.
And then they took it to the 80th for Wales to tie it up, and it was like we need to get that win. We need to establish ourselves, and because we got that match with England on Friday, and that is more than likely a loss, and it's going to be
Yes.
like to get out of our group. We needed to get a win under our belt. So
That's
you
one
know,
that draw would feel like a win on
yeah,
Friday if they're
yes,
able to do that.
yes,
That would
100%,
feel like a win
100%.
if you're able to draw England. But man, I mean that's especially like I feel like they just took their foot off the. I know this. I mean,
Yes,
technically we're a football podcast.
that's
So we'll
exactly
just
what happened. That's exactly
they
what
took
happened
their
in the
foot off
second
the
half.
gas. Like they had the ball in in the attacking third for so much of that first half
Yes,
until they scored, and then it almost seemed like it was like, hey, let's take our foot off the gas,
and play
and
defense.
especially and like I mean, obviously I don't know much about Wales as a football team, but it's like from what they were saying, they are a defensive based counter-attacking team, and so like why wouldn't you keep your foot on the gas to try to keep that moment? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just I feel like it was a weird
It was.
decision
I mean,
to
it
play
really,
more defensive,
it
but
really was a tale of two halves because, like you said, that first half was very aggressive, very offensive focused, and then the second half they just came out of halftime and it was like, all right, we're just gonna play back. We're gonna
flat.
play defense, and it didn't work out. I mean,
No.
they credit them. They did a very good job holding them for a long time until they got a little unlucky with a bad penalty at the wrong moment.
Oh, it was so bad. But I mean,
But
like they were also giving up so many chances. Like
yes,
you give up that
yes,
many chances in your own
you're gonna get
attacking third.
burned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
I know most of our listeners probably are like, why are you talking about soccer? But
Hey,
it's the World Cup, man.
it's
It
football.
happens.
It's the World Cup. Like it happens every 4 years. You gotta talk about it.
World football.
Yeah, but it's weird. It's weird having it on this late in the year. Like it just doesn't.
So weird.
It doesn't feel right. But it is what it is, and we get to enjoy some football with our football over Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm here for it.
Yep.
For all those listening, first and foremost, happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Hopefully you're having a safe drive. If you're listening to us on your way to your vacation destination, hopefully you get to spend some time with some loved ones and just have a great time. Community, family, friends, hanging out, being thankful, eating some good food, just having a good time of fellowship. And I'm here for that. I'm ready
We
for a
keep it PG
vacation.
rated, so you can listen to it with your kids in the car. You know,
Yeah.
we're safe for the whole family.
Yeah, I'm certainly ready for a vacation. I had a 10-hour day at work today. That was
Ooh,
not fun. I didn't get home until almost 6:30. So yeah, I'm a little underprepared for tonight, but I'm here. I'm here for it. We're gonna do the thing, and we're gonna get it done.
man. It's okay. Listen, I was hanging up Christmas lights at the church and then doing like a big lighting at our church. We put up tons of Christmas lights at our church, and so I was up on a ladder for all of Sunday afternoon, and I had the Falcons game on just like my phone was sitting on the wheelchair ramp, and I was just like
Yeah.
listening to it,
Yeah.
and I would be like. And I had looked over at somebody. I was like, "Cordero Patterson just got a kick return touchdown," and he was like, "You can hear that?" And I was like, "Oh yes, I didn't even know you were standing there." Anyway,
Yeah. I told my wife, which today is also my wife's birthday, so that just adds to
yeah.
everything.
Happy birthday.
If you're listening, Lauren, which I know you're not, but happy birthday.
But happy birthday.
But yeah, I told her that next week I'm taking the entire week of Thanksgiving off work. I'm not doing this.
Mhm.
Like I'm already dreading having to go in tomorrow, even though I'm only working like just about a half day because I have to work and then I have to come home and we have to drive 5 hours, and it's like this is ridiculous. So I'm taking the whole week off next year. I don't care. I'm just doing it. It's
Listen, the
getting
drive
done.
wasn't that bad, other than that Zeke needed to stop to pee 3 times within 30 minutes. I'm not joking, not an exaggeration. 3 times, 30 minutes.
I believe it. But yeah,
Tiny bladder.
it's not that bad of a drive. We did it back in July, 4th of July, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I'm just not looking forward to it after 5 hours of work. So
That's true.
it is what it is. But let's actually get into some football talk.
Let's do it.
Let's talk best of the booth. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I've got a weird one. I'm calling them the 84 and up club. Obviously, I'm not talking about age because there's no reason to talk about the quarterbacks that are 84 and up.
Looking at you, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, you guys are garbage. Just sit down. Sit down. No, I'm talking about the guys who completed 84% of their passes or more. There's 2 guys I wanted to talk about in particular. I really just felt like when looking at what happened on Sunday, to see like, okay, these guys really were dominant. First guy, Andy Dalton. Listen, I did my best to try to tell you to take the Saints.
Yeah, you did.
To try to tell you that the Rams are stinky poo-poo. They have nothing. They have no chutzpah at all, and they are terrible. Andy Dalton completed 84% of his passes on Sunday against what everybody thought coming into this year was a Rams defense that was supposed to be spooky scary, but they're not. They're just little baby Rams, little lambs. The Los Angeles Lambs got slaughtered. He had the 260 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 149.
Wow.
153.8 is perfect, right? 158.3.
Yeah.
We always mix that up.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Anyway, 149 quarterback rating. Ridiculous. And then even crazier, a guy who completed even more, a higher percentage of his passes, which weird is both of these guys had 25 pass attempts, which I know is not a lot. But Andy Dalton was 21 of 25, and Dak Prescott was 22 of 25. 276 yards, 88% of his passes, quarterback rating of 139. I mean, just stellar performances for those 2 guys. I mean, they're, especially you consider both of them are playing what are supposed to be 2 of the better defenses in the league. Dak Prescott and playing the Minnesota Vikings, Andy Dalton and playing the Rams, which people still think have defense for some reason. And both of them completed over 84% of their passes. And it wasn't just like, oh, well, they only threw the ball 20 times. I mean, they threw for 260 yards for Dalton, 276 for Dak. So they were still throwing it far. It wasn't just like little dinks and dunks. I mean, this is some pretty good production out of these 2 guys. So hats off, slow clap for Andy Dalton and Dak Prescott doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Beating teams, but especially Dak. I mean, that one's crazy to do that against the Vikings. It's just, I mean, unreal.
Yeah, that's that's a game that just completely baffles me. I don't know what happened. I think that they talked about it on a podcast earlier that I was listening to, that early in that game, Kirk had it was a botch snap. It was a snap that was a fumble right from the get-go and automatic turnover. And maybe it wasn't. I think it might have been the strip sack that Michael Parsons had.
Yeah.
It was a strip sack that Michael
yeah.
Parsons had. And they said that it reminded them of the feeling they got in that Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl where Peyton had, I think that one was the botch snap that went over his head. And it was like, immediately when that happened, it was like, this game's over with. Like
Right.
this is all Seahawks from here on out, and that's what happened. And they said they had a similar feeling watching this game, that as soon as that strip sack from Micah Parsons happened, it was like this is a Vikings game, or this is a Cowboys game. The Vikings are done.
And it looked like Kirk kind of was rushing his throws after that. Like he
Yeah.
was almost too afraid, and so he
Yes.
was like, it was like he wasn't willing to let the play develop as much, and he was trying to
Right.
get rid of the ball. Which I mean, part of that was due to the fact that they sacked him 7 times.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that was the only 7 times they even got pressure on him. So they're like, according to Pro Football Reference, there were no hurries or
Quarterback hits or knockdowns, or
quarterback
anything like
hits
that.
outside of those 7 pressures, which were all sacks.
Interesting.
So that's what's interesting to me, is it's like, that's weird. But anyway, yeah, it did look like Kirk kind of had like his clock sped up because of Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And I do feel like if you get sacked 7 times, you're probably gonna
Yeah.
be like, I don't want to do this anymore today.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that I don't think that game is as indicative of either one of those teams' seasons as a lot of people would like to think from that score.
Yeah.
I think that the Vikings are still a really good football team, and maybe they've had an easy schedule that has made them look better than they are. But I think they can still hang with the Cowboys. I think it was just a bad day. I think that if they play that game 10 times, I think they probably split it 5-5. Like I don't think that one team is necessarily that much better than the other. You look at the Cowboys 2 weeks ago, they lost to the Packers. Like, who saw that happening?
Right.
Nobody saw that happening.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
Yeah. So I'm not going to buy too much into it, but it is a little concerning seeing the Vikings get completely shut down like they did.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens moving forward. For my best of the booth,
Who you got?
hey, guess what, guys? For at least one game, the Detroit Lions have a defense. They have a defense. It's a new era. It's officially a new era, according to you. I want to hear it.
I'm with you. It's the new era of the Detroit Lions.
Let's go.
We have finally, it took them 11 weeks, but they have finally entered into a new era in Detroit where they can win more than 3 games a season.
Yeah.
It's probably like their season high for wins since Calvin Johnson was there.
Three wins in a row, and one of those coming over the 7-2, now 7-3 New York Giants that a lot of people were jumping on board with. I questioned it. I said, I'm not so sure about these guys. I picked the Lions to win. The Lions go out, they take care of business. And honestly, it wasn't the Lions offense that really sealed the deal for them, because the offense was good, but not exceptional like we've seen from them throughout the season. I want to say Jared Goff only had like 160, maybe 170 passing yards. They did get about 140, 150 yards on the ground. Let me double check that. 165 yards passing for Goff, 160 yards on the ground between Justin Jackson, Jamal Williams, and DeAndre Swift. So decent run game, but the defense is what sealed the deal in that game. This Lions defense had 2 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, 5 tackles for a loss. I don't know where this defensive front came from, but they're here. Then they had 2 picks and a forced fumble. 3 turnovers forced. What an outstanding day by this Detroit Lions squad, who we've grown accustomed to seeing stink up the field on a weekly basis. This is a huge thing for me. They absolutely shut down Saquon Barkley in the rush game. You want to take a guess as to how many yards Saquon had?
Isn't it like 60 or less?
He had 22 yards. 22 yards on 15 carries. That's a 1.5 yard average.
That's wild, man.
From the league's, I think he was the league's leading rusher going into this game. At least he was right up there, top 3.
Yeah,
because I think
still.
And Derrick Henry's up there too.
Yeah.
But he's definitely right up there in the mix. And they completely shut him down, forced Daniel Jones to pass, which inevitably led to some mistakes from Daniel Jones. We both are believers in Danny Dimes. We both think he's talented, but he had
a bad game.
He's going to make some mistakes in the passing game. And honestly, he didn't have a terrible game. He was 27 of 44 for 341 yards and a touchdown, but he had two key picks. One of them was a great defensive play by Aiden Hutchinson, and the other one was just a bad pass. It was a bad mistake by Danny Dimes. But it's a fun defense when they're playing like this. And if we get more games like this, we are in for a fun time in the new era of Detroit football. And I am here for it.
The new era. It's official. It's official. I want to give. I do want to. I know this is unorthodox, but it's okay. It's Thanksgiving. This is like you're going in for seconds. That's what this moment is right now. Is we're going. I want to go in for seconds on Best of the Booth because I want to talk about a guy who, the last couple of weeks, I think my Best of the Booth has gone out to Best of the Booth, and I had an under review that was one particular random guy that it was like who. With Falcons, it was Taquan Graham who fumbled the ball. It was just ugly. 2 weeks before that, it was the Giants punt returner who dropped 2.
Yeah.
I want to bonus Best of the Booth. The bonus Best of the Booth goes to Marcus Jones, punt returner for the New England Patriots, who won. A walk-off punt return to win in a divisional game where your team, played well. Like the Patriots defense, they attack. Okay. Zach Wilson helped them by being terrible, but like you keep an opposing team to 3 points, and Mac Jones didn't have a terrible day. Like
no, Mac Jones had a decent day. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Jets defense is solid. And so for him to come out there, and I don't care. Listen, people talking about the block in the back that happened right there at the goal. That dude wasn't going to catch him. That was irrelevant. That block in the back was completely irrelevant.
Well, even if you get a block in the back there, it's a dead ball there minus the penalty yardage, and then you're still looking at probably a 40, maybe 45-yard field goal attempt to win the game, which they would probably kick, and you win the game 6-3. Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
So that's a gross final score. Yeah. But, man, I just can't imagine, to me, Best of the Booth is like, hey, who had like a shining moment. That's why I like to give credit to guys like Andy Dalton who go out and he had a great game. That's something that we have not said. Like, when was the last time you said Andy Dalton had a great game?
2012.
Right. Yeah. Like, a long time. So, yeah, I just think that like props to Marcus Jones for doing. I know that he didn't do it to get props on our show. I'm pretty sure. If I had to just take a guess. He didn't do it just to get props on our show, but if he did, well done. You earned it. So, yeah. Anyway, that was my honorable Best of the Booth.
I'm actually glad you brought that game up because my under review is a certain second-year quarterback who played terrible. Terrible. My under review has to be Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson in this game, 9 completed passes. 9 of 22, which is, I don't know if you can do the math, but that is a 40.9% completion percentage. 40, just under 41% of passes that he was completing for 77 yards and a QBR of 24.5. That's on a scale out of 100. 24.5. Garbage. For the 4th time this year, Zach Wilson threw for less than 60% and less than 160 yards in a game. 4 out of his 7 starts, he has done that. In the second half, the Jets offense managed a whopping 2 yards of total offense. I believe they got about 2 inches per play is what I saw. You move the ball 2 inches per play in an entire half of football. Credit to the Patriots defense. I don't want to take anything away from the Patriots defense, but there's no offense in the NFL that should be moving the ball at a rate of 2 inches per play. That's garbage. Awful. This is an awful game on the offensive side, and at least some of the blame has to fall on Zach Wilson, whether he likes it or not. After the game, Zach Wilson was asked if he and the offense let down their defense, who played phenomenally. He was asked if he and the offense let them down, and his response was simply no. How do you respond like that? How do you respond like that and walk into the locker room to face your teammates and say, yeah, that's not on me. What happened out there? Not on me.
Okay, well,
not
let
on
me
me.
ask this. Let me ask this question. When I watched the clip, I thought they said, "Do you take any of the blame?" or "Do you," whatever it was.
Even if they asked
But
that.
but did he say? But I mean, like, I can understand him saying that the offense didn't let them down because he doesn't want to throw his offensive line, his receivers, his tight ends.
Sure.
Like if I'm him, you could say, "No, that's on me." Like you take that one on the chin. Like you ruined this game.
Sure, but my problem with it is people want to talk a lot of crap about Aaron Rodgers and his inability to lead, especially the way it looks this year. But I will say this: every single time the offensive struggles have been brought up, he has said we have to play better, and that starts with me.
Yeah,
that's what leaders do. That's what championship winning quarterbacks do. Zach Wilson, you're in your second year. You're no longer a rookie. This second year is when quarterbacks really start to take over in that leadership position. And you sit there and say, no. Your teammates are starting to come out saying they're disappointed by his lack of ownership. There's been reports that have come out. Garrett Wilson talked publicly after that game, basically saying everything he could to throw Zach Wilson under the bus without mentioning Zach Wilson.
Wow.
I believe today Sauce Gardner came out and said something about it on Twitter with a cryptic tweet that most people are saying is pointing obviously to Zach Wilson. And the head coach, Robert Saleh, has even come out and indicated that Zach Wilson is in danger of losing the starting job, as he should be. You can't tell me that Joe Flacco or Mike White couldn't step in there and do a better job.
Okay, let's slow down. Listen,
I was
the conductor of the White Mike hype train.
At the very least, it would be similar. Which
Flacco, I think at this point, probably could.
I mean, throw somebody in there. Your starting quarterback should not be going out there and completing 41% of their passes. That's garbage.
It's worse. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's garbage.
I'm tempted to go legitimate counterfeit already. But
there's easily 20 other starting NFL quarterbacks that if they were on this team would be 8-2. Easily.
I mean, I don't know if there's a worse quarterback in the league.
I mean, I'm with you. I said 20 to give myself room for 11 out of the 31 to possibly be equal or worse.
Maybe the Panthers QB room, I could say, is like worse.
I think Baker Mayfield leads this team better.
I mean,
it doesn't take much to lead this team better than what Zach Wilson has done. He wants no part in owning up to that offense being terrible at times, and he wants no part in owning up to having awful completion percentage in over half of his games and throwing less than 160 yards in over half his games.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing poorly, own it, and be better. Just be better.
Be better.
Just do your job. Just go out there, do your job, be better, and own it when you're playing like garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I fully expect Devin to own how bad his picks have been the last few weeks.
Oh, they've been bad.
See, look at there. He totally, when we talk about how bad the picks have been on the show, I really hope Devin takes most of the blame. Because
I nail him sometimes. Sometimes.
Well, significantly less than me now. I was up 2 on you. Now I'm up 5, I think. So
chaos season. There's no way you're up 5. I didn't have a great week.
We disagreed on 4 last week, and you got 1 on me.
Okay. Here's what it is. Chaos season.
So
that's gonna be my excuse. Chaos season.
2? No, that's just 2, right? That's just me gaining 2. Is it? No.
I don't know.
Yes. When you're here, we got to just add them up.
Okay.
When you get here, well, I'm sure we'll have some time. We can do math.
Probably.
We'll just have like a math sit down, and we'll just figure it out.
Not a math pod.
Not a math pod. I mean, not at all. You're good at math, though. Like I'm admittedly bad at math. I'm very bad at math. I'm overly confident and careless. That's really my downfall. Is it's like I forget to carry ones. I just like assume that I'm right, and it's like, yeah, that's probably what that is, and I just go with it. And it's like, you're not. You should have thought a little bit more. Anyway, not a math podcast, not a making excuses for my ineptitude podcasts. I'm not Zach Wilson. So, um, speaking of ineptitude and offenses, listen. I've probably talked about this before, but I don't think it could be talked about enough. The Denver Broncos offense.
Ugh.
What?
Ugh.
Like, what are you doing? They scored 16 points against the Raiders, whose defense now, after giving up 16 points to the Broncos, they're giving up 24 points per game. The Raiders are giving up 24 points per game, and you have coming into the season, I think most people would have said a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now,
now it's questionable.
Now it's question. I think he's a definite Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
but I don't know that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer anymore.
I tell you what would help if he gets that MVP. Go out and get that elusive MVP.
When is that going to happen? It's not going to happen now. Not going to happen this year.
Not going to happen this year. There's hope for next year if you get a new head coach.
Like you talked about the Jets moving the ball 2 inches per play. I really do think that, like, if you think about the Broncos, it wasn't because of the Raiders defense. It's not because of the Raiders defense. Their defense is not good. Max Crosby's okay. Like, he's fine. He's a fine defensive end, like, solid guy. But when the other team is giving up 24 points per game, you scoring 16 is not about their defensive success. It's about your ineptitude. Like, I really think that this team would have trouble scoring against a middle school team. That it's just like, they just can't, like something about them, they just can't actually put 75 yards together down on one drive in practice. Like, I refuse to believe this team could drive down the field 75 yards in practice with tackling dummies on the other side. Like, somebody would trip, Russell Wilson would overthrow, or the play would be, I don't know what's happening in Denver. I have no idea. Maybe they're all a little too mile high. That's the only thing I can think of, is they're all just fine with this. And it really is just completely unbelievable that a team with that much technical firepower, like Melvin Gordon didn't have a bad game. Russ didn't have a bad game. Like, they just couldn't score. And it really is just completely mind-blowing that you score 16 points. And they do. The defense did what they have done every single week. Do you know how many points per game the Denver Broncos allow per game?
Probably less than 20.
16. It's 16 points per game. They allowed 16 points per game. So they did literally what they do every single week. They came out, they played shut down, lockdown defense, and the offense couldn't score 17 points. Sorry, Denver Broncos give up 17 points per game. My bad. 17 points.
Yeah.
But that's also after giving up 22 to the Raiders this week, so I'm going to stand by what I said, that they were giving up 16 points per game, because I'm pretty sure I said that last week.
Yeah.
It's just, I just don't understand it. Like, and they even changed up who the offensive play caller was this week. They turned, Nathaniel Hackett turned over the play calling to the quarterback coach this week.
Yeah, Kubiak.
And they still couldn't. Maybe it is Russ. Like, Geno Smith is looking unbelievably good. Russell Wilson is looking unbelievably bad. So
I don't know what it is. I've seen reports floated out there that Russ has been using Seahawks audibles, and so his teammates literally don't know what he's talking about. But I feel like that would have been fixed after like 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like
just think about, like, the confidence that he would be saying all of this, and his teammates are just like,
what the hell?
What are you talking about? Like, I don't know what that means. We've never done this.
I can see that happening for like the first 2 weeks, maybe, where like you've been in a system for so long, you've had these audibles, and now you're moving over to a completely new thing, and maybe you just fall into the old habits a couple times over the first couple weeks. This is 11 weeks in. 11 weeks in.
He played at 2 different colleges and then
Right.
was successful in the NFL. So, like, it's not like he's just unfamiliar. He's not dumb.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he is dumb, but like, I wouldn't assume that he's dumb based on his success multiple places.
Right. Yeah, it's a weird situation that Denver's in, and again, I still stand by that. I think that Nathaniel Hackett should be one and done. I think they should go find a new guy. And if you're going to commit to Russell Wilson being that guy long term, as you have committed financially to him being that guy, you need to bring him in to the conversation for who the next head coach is, because you've got to make sure that him and the next head coach are on the same page and have the same vision, have the same ideas when it comes to the offense. You can't. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are versatile enough to go from coordinator to coordinator, system to system, and make it work. And maybe Russ isn't that guy. I don't want to say that, because Russ is a very talented quarterback, but maybe for whatever reason, him and Hackett just they're not clicking. They don't have it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to commit to this guy being your guy, and you already have financially, then you've got to bring him into the conversation for whoever the next head coach is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what we got for legit or counterfeit?
All right, legit or counterfeit. I brought it up last week. I'm going to back you into a corner. I'm going to make you decide. We're talking the 2021 NFL draft class, which I know it's early, okay? And people, here's what I'm annoyed with, is people keep pointing out Josh Allen. Josh Allen had, his first 2 years were terrible. Like, on par with Zach Wilson. Like, they were both, like, Josh Allen was terrible. But, like,
I don't think he was Zach Wilson terrible.
Oh, look at it. Like, dude, it's
continue
weird.
talking. I'm going to look at it.
But what's happened is that people are starting to look at that and be like, oh, well, that's just normal quarterback development. No, it's not. Like, that's not how any other quarterback has developed. That's not what Patrick Mahomes did. That's not what Matt Ryan did. That's not what Aaron Rodgers did. That's not what Kirk Cousins did. I mean, you look at the Russell Wilson, like, nobody else was awful their first 2 years. But if you look at Josh Allen's completion percentage, it was like 57 first year, 58 second year.
So I just pulled it up. His completion percentage his first year he went 5-6 as a starter. 53, just under 53% completion percentage.
Awful.
10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. His second year as a starter, he went 10-6 and had just under 59% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So there is an obvious progression there. And then the third season that was his breakout year. 13-3, 69.2% completion percentage, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions.
I think that's the year he hit puberty.
Yeah, I mean that was his breakout year.
Grown man numbers right there.
But you compare that to Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is making the same exact mistakes he made last year. Like, there's been no clear progression from year 1 to year 2. Like, at least with Josh Allen, you could see that he was improving. There were still questions in year 2 as to whether or not he is the guy moving forward, whether or not he can be the franchise guy. But there was at least a clear step forward in year 2.
Yeah. So here's your back into a corner moment. This phrase, legit or counterfeit, Justin Fields is and will be the best QB of that draft class. That draft class including Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Davis Mills. If you want to include Ian Book in there for some reason, you can, or Kellen Mond if you want, but I don't know why you would include those guys. But Justin Fields is currently, and 10 years down the road, when we look back, we will say Justin Fields was the best quarterback in that draft class. Legit or counterfeit?
I think I'm going to say counterfeit.
Ooh.
But that's pending something real quick. I just want to see something. I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence's first year versus this year to see what his stats are and see if there's a progression. There is. There is. Um, his first year as a quarterback, he went 3-14, 59.6% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Currently in year 2 through 10 games, he's 3-7. So the wins still aren't there, but Jacksonville also has a very bad team. But he's completing 65.2% of his passes, 13 touchdowns, so already one more touchdown than last year, to just 6 interceptions. So while he has not been fantastic yet, again, you see that clear progression. He's making the right steps. We even mentioned that earlier in the season that he looks better. Now the last couple weeks he's kind of fallen off a little bit, but he's still progressing and looking better. His second year, he's in his second system already with Doug Peterson. So I think the jury's still out on him. I think he is the most talented quarterback of that draft class. I don't think there's much argument to be had there. But as we've said, Justin Fields is the most electric player, at least in the run game. I'm just not buying him as a passer. That's my biggest problem.
Okay, listen, I'm starting to back off on my Justin Fields hate. And let me give you some reasons why. Going back to week 5, which is where we really saw a change in Justin Fields' game. It's his only 200-yard passing game this season. Threw for 208 yards. He had a 71% completion percentage, and this is his completion percentages since then. 71, next week 51. Terrible. That's awful. And it was against Washington, not like a shutdown defense either.
Right.
The next week 61, 73, 60, 60, 66. So like, to me, there's a progression there, especially considering his first 4 weeks were 47, 63 against Green Bay, 47, 50. So, like, you go from that to 70, 51, 61, 73, 60, 60, 66. Like, you're starting to see a progression in his quarterback play.
Right.
He's starting to throw more accurately. And his yards on the ground since then have been
they've skyrocketed.
Just ridiculous. Yeah, since that game in week 5, which is weird because that was his best passing game. He only had 47 rushing yards. But before that, his season high on rushing yards was 52. Since then, 88, 82, 60, 178, 147, and then 85 this week. And so it is a little crazy to see his numbers. You know, he's also improving, and he's being utilized for his skill set.
And they've definitely done a good job fixing their offensive game plan to a style that suits his play for sure.
Yeah.
And that's another guy that is in a different system in year 2, different system than he was in last year. It's a new coaching regime. I mean, really, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones are the two quarterbacks that are in the same system from year over year. And I don't know what's happened to Mac Jones. He looks like a different person. And Zach Wilson looks like this same bum that he was last year.
Same bum. And poor Davis Mills is just
Davis Mills is
garbage.
I mean, he also wasn't highly touted though. Like, he's not a guy that people expected to come in and be good. The fact that he was good last year was a surprise, and now we're getting possibly the true Davis Mills and what we've seen down in Houston with him this year. I still want to say counterfeit. I will say this. I think that the two best quarterbacks will be Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. I will say that. I'm just not ready to say that Fields will have a better career than Trevor Lawrence, because I do think that Trevor Lawrence is the most talented, especially in the passing game. And if he can figure out a way to minimize the mistakes a little bit more, become a little bit more of an accurate passer, then we could see a I think similar to like a Justin Herbert type guy from him, to where is there potential for him to have a top 5 quarterback type season? Sure. We all thought going into this year Justin Herbert would be a top 5 quarterback. Hasn't quite looked that way. A lot of that's due to the injuries around him. But
Right.
I don't think we'll ever say Justin Herbert is the best quarterback in the league. And I think more times than not, he's probably going to fall lower in the top 10, but he'll be in the top 10 conversation. I think that's the ceiling for Trevor Lawrence, is that type of quarterback, to where could potentially be a top 5 in the right year. He goes off, he has a great season, has a lot of good help around him, whatever, stays healthy. But more times than not, he's probably going to be bottom tier, 8 to 10, top 10 type quarterback. I think that's his ceiling, if he keeps progressing the way he's gone from year 1 to year 2, and if that continues. Justin Fields, I think, is going to be closer if everything's got to go right with him, I feel like. And if everything goes right, he's going to have I think he's more prone to have like a flash in the pan type career, to where he has maybe a 2016 Cam Newton type season one year, or a, what was it, 2019 or 2020 when Lamar won MVP type season, where he goes off, he looks crazy, he's electric, leads that team on a crazy playoff run, but he can't continue it. And obviously the jury's still out on Lamar. He still looks like he's going to have a perfectly fine career. But Cam Newton, outside of 2016, was good, but he wasn't great.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, I saw somebody bring up that at the end of that Falcons game, he got injured. He got hurt running a play.
Yes.
And they brought up Cam Newton. And honestly, I think you can say the same thing about Lamar, is like those are guys that battled injuries their entire career because they were too much relied on for their running ability.
RG3.
So maybe that does, RG3 was also not that great of a passer, but
but he relied on his legs, and that's what took him out his first season.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a great first season. Took him out I think week 16 maybe, where he got that bad injury, and it was just like, all right, well, this guy's career is over with.
Yeah, I was trying to be spicy, and I was gonna say counterfeit and pick Davis Mills, and then I really dove into the numbers, and I was like, nah, it doesn't make any sense. I can't even. I think even Peter would be too crazy to say that. I think that's too crazy. That's what I mean. I think it would be too crazy for even Peter to say. That's what I mean. Yeah, I'm with you that I think Trevor Lawrence and what we've seen in his growth, and then, I don't know that we've seen, Justin Fields didn't look great against a Falcons defense that is not good. I mean,
it has no secondary. No secondary.
No secondary, and he did not look great and struggled to run the ball. He only had 80, and I say struggle. 80 yards rushing for him is a struggle day this year, which is impressive. But
when you have dynamic playmakers in the receiving game, such as Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Cole Kmet, which Cole Kmet had a great catch in one of those passes. But when you have guys like that, like, you would expect more in the passing game against defenses like Atlanta, where they have such a bad secondary, and you didn't even see that. And honestly, on that last play, on that last drive where he threw the interception, that pick was all on him. That was a bad. It was a bad throw. It was a bad decision to try that. And so things like that, like, I can't just look past that with him, And it's what I've always said. He is a straight up liability in the passing game. Electric runner, probably the best mobile quarterback in the game, but his passing game is absolutely a liability, and you can't have that from a quarterback.
No, especially not in this NFL. Like, when you look at his numbers being similar to Vic, we talked about this last week, that that was a different era where you didn't expect the accuracy from your quarterbacks that you do now. Right. So.
And even and even Cam was an electric runner, but he had problems in his passing game, I think.
Not his MVP season, man.
No, not his MVP season. I would
put it against Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen.
No. I agree with you. But in his career as a whole, he was not a fantastic passer. He was not, up there with the best of them in the passing game. But he wasn't a liability either. Like
That's true.
he was going to take care of the ball. He might have a mistake here or there, whatever. Which you get that from almost any
I mean,
quarterback
that's
in
like
the league.
Lamar. I mean,
Right.
Lamar,
Yes.
he's
Yes.
not a liability. I mean, I would even say that Lamar consistently over his career, as far as being a mobile quarterback, is probably the best mobile quarterback throwing the ball that we've seen, unless you want to get into the Josh Allen discussion about like,
Right.
are we putting him into that same category?
Or Kyler Murray.
I would take Lamar over Kyler.
Yeah. Well, I think Kyler's more talented. It's just a matter of being consistent. But yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
sure.
yeah.
And that's a whole other debate. But yeah, that's my problem with Fields. I think that he's more of a liability than just having a couple of problems in his passing game. I think that he's going to get in his own way more times than not.
Right. That's true.
So
yeah, I think I'm gonna go with counterfeit and just leave room for Trevor Lawrence or maybe a Mac Jones resurgence, or we never know what we're gonna see from Trey Lance. So I might say
that is true.
I would say that right now Justin Fields is the best quarterback from that class. Like if you were saying, hey, for the rest of the season, which quarterback would you rather have on your team? I probably would take Justin Fields. But
It's tough, man.
He might be about at his ceiling right now, where
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is ascending, and Mac Jones is descending, which is weird. But
Yeah, I don't understand the Mac Jones year, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, I say we put week 11 in the rear view, move over to week 12, and I think it's time we get picky with it.
Getting picky with it. Getting picky with it. Getting picky with it. Getting picky with it.
Man, it's weird having theme music.
Hey, we're up there, man. On the up and up. And hey, listen, I totally meant to shout this out last time, but that beat was made by our friend Logan. And I was just having a conversation. I was like, hey, we're just talking about like, hey, if I wanted to make this beat, like what's the best program? And he was like, well, let me take a crack at it. And he did it in like a night. He was just like, oh, here you go. Like a couple hours. He was like, here you go. And I mean, it's pretty dope. I'm pretty proud of it.
It is pretty good. It's pretty good.
Logan, thank you. If you guys need beats made, hit up Logan and he can make you some beats.
Beats by Logan.
Beats by Logan. So really appreciate him making that for us. But anyway, yes, let's get picky with it.
Starting us off on Thanksgiving. Turkey Day. We got the old classic team, the Detroit Lions, always playing on Thanksgiving. They got the Buffalo Bills coming to town. Maybe staying in town? I don't know if they even went back to Buffalo.
I wouldn't think so. I know Atlanta, they stayed when they had the road trip where they played, was it San Francisco and Seattle? Back-to-back weeks?
Yeah.
I think they stayed,
well, I know.
so I would think if they're in Detroit.
Yeah, because they moved there because of the snowstorm and played the Cleveland Browns, got the win in Detroit Stadium. And I have a feeling they're going to get another win on Turkey Day against this Lions team. I like where the Lions are at right now. They've won 3 in a row, but Buffalo are 9.5-point favorites for a reason. They're in a whole different echelon of the NFL than this Detroit team. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see Detroit pull this out. And I don't think it's that crazy of a possibility for them to do that with the way that the Lions have looked over the last 3 games, especially against the Giants with the way that defense looks. But this Bills team is completely different. I can't justify picking the Lions as much as I want to. So I'm picking the Bills over the Lions. Who you got, man?
I just wanted there to be a little bit of silence there.
I definitely thought about it.
I am gonna go with the Lions.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. Listen, I had it not written down. I really didn't have it written down until we started, and I was like, I don't know. Okay, listen. Hear me out.
It's not that crazy. Like I said, I don't think it's that
crazy. The Bills' offense has been struggling.
Yep.
The Lions' offense can just drop a 40 bomb on people.
Yeah. And the Bills' defense hasn't been exactly itself over the last
It
few weeks.
hasn't.
It's not the Bills' defense we saw the first couple weeks.
The Lions are at home.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving. And
Yeah.
listen, I think that Thanksgiving we get crazier games than you would expect.
Absolutely.
And so if you were to pick one of these 3 games to be an upset, maybe you take the Giants over the Cowboys, but I don't know that that's
No,
even that big of a stretch because the Giants they have the same record.
Yeah.
I think this is the one where the upset makes a difference.
I'm with you.
I think that I really do think the Lions can come in and with their energy of having a 3-game win streak and punch this Bills team in the mouth that's kind of licking their wounds. I know they got the win last week, but this is a Bills team that has looked like one of my favorite scenes in any Marvel movie. And if you haven't seen Iron Man 2, you're too late. Like I don't care if I spoil it for you. You weren't going to watch it. But he says Tony Stark goes into Whiplash and he's like, but you lost. And he's like, his point is essentially like, yeah, but I made you look bad. And he says, yes, but if you can make God bleed. And I was just like, oh man, what a great, and to me, that's like the Bills look mortal.
Yeah.
Like coming into this season, it was like, this is the team that's untouchable. They're perfect. Both sides of the ball. Like they can do everything at an elite level. And right now the Bills look beatable.
Yeah.
The Bills, every team in the NFL this season does, but the Bills in particular of those upper echelon of teams, like they look beatable. And so I'm gonna go crazy in honor of Thanksgiving and because it's where my heart is gonna be, is I want to be rooting for the Lions on Thanksgiving Day.
With you.
Eating some snacks. I think the plan is we're gonna be eating like Super Bowl appetizers. Our wives are great at being like, hey, let's do this. And so we're going to be eating like dips and like, who knows, wings. I don't know what the plan is. I'm just going to be here. boneless wings. I don't want, that's like, if you get into real wings, then it's like, oh, that's a meal. But like boneless wings can be like appetizer, you know? So give me the Lions in this one. I might lose. I'll take this loss though. Like if the Lions lose to the Bills, I'll go down with the ship. It's like, you know what? It's a new era. It's a new Detroit era. Might as well kick off the new era. This is the start of the new era is this week. New era is.
Listen, man. I very much thought about it. I very much wanted to take the Lions. I just couldn't do it. It's very similar to the Commanders-Eagles game a couple weeks ago, where it's like, I just feel like this. I feel like this is a very strong possibility. I couldn't do it, and I regret not doing it. But for the sake of this,
here's the question: is if I had picked first and I picked the Bills, would you have picked the Lions?
Probably not.
Okay.
I probably still would have gone Buffalo.
I really think I just picked the Lions because you picked the Bills, and I was like,
and I'm not going to switch it because it's good for us to have disagreements, but
yeah.
It's not crazy. I'm with you. I don't think it's crazy, and this Bills team is not in the best. Listen, they've been sliding down our power rankings for a reason. We've consistently been dropping them. I think this week might have been the first week they actually moved up. But they're vulnerable. They're definitely vulnerable, and the Lions have a good thing rolling. So,
but now I do also want to say it is entirely possible that we get a game that looks like the Vikings Cowboys game. That it's like that the Bills just come out and say no,
completely overpower them. Yeah,
just sit down and take this like the child you are.
Yeah,
and move on next week and try to get a win next week. But then ain't it for you. That is entirely probable. That's probably what will happen. But I really want to see the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's the key to this game to me. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have a monster day. He's getting the turkey leg. Is that the one they do the turkey leg on? Is CBS or is it Fox?
I think it's Fox. I think it's Fox. They do the turkey leg.
But I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have a game where he becomes a household name.
That's my
crazy take for the game.
I'm here for it.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I think I mentioned it in the Discord the other day. Which, if you're not in the Discord, hop into the Discord.
It's the party,
it's
man.
where all the activities happen. But I think I mentioned it the other day that this is probably the best slate of games on Thanksgiving that we've had in a long time.
Mhm.
All three of these I could see being down to the wire, close games.
I
At
don't
the same time, I could see all of them being complete blowouts.
Yeah.
But
in all of them, you will get to see at least one really good team play football.
yes.
You get the Bills, Cowboys, and Vikings that you get to watch. That I mean, obviously, you probably have seen enough of the Cowboys. They love to put those guys on TV,
right.
But you get some Vikings and some Bills in prime time, and some Lions in prime time. I think that could be fun.
Yeah. The Lions are the only team playing on Thanksgiving without a winning record currently, but they almost feel like they should have one just based off the way they've played the last couple weeks. They should be like a 4-4 type team, but they're 4-6. So, anyways, moving on to the 4:30 game over on Fox, we have the 7-3 New York Giants heading in to Dallas to take on the 7-3 Dallas Cowboys. Dallas 9.5-point favorites, which is pretty sizable for two teams that share the same record, but I think
those 7-3s are not the same.
I think we can all safely say the Cowboys are the better team for sure. I could see the Giants putting up a fight, but they looked bad against the Detroit Lions, and if you're looking bad against the Detroit Lions, you're probably not that good. I've got to go with the Cowboys. I think the Giants could make it a game, but I'm rolling with the boys. They put on a show against the Vikings. I think they're probably feeling themselves after that win, as they should be. I think that game will hopefully be a turning point to where they get off that little slide that they had, especially on the defensive side, against the Packers and Bears over the last couple weeks. And they right the ship and they get out there, shut down Saquon very similarly to how the Lions did in their game against the Giants. So I'm rolling with the boys. Who you got, man?
And the Cowboys were able to shut down Dalvin Cook. I mean, that's huge. You know, like you held him in check. And so if you can do that, you probably can hold Saquon in check as well, at least to an extent.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I got the Cowboys. I'm not stupid. Well, you might say I'm stupid because I took the Lions. Some may say. I've heard it said before.
I mean,
but I'm taking the Cowboys.
What's weird is I think the Lions kind of showcased how you beat this Giants offense, which I mean, I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think that it was like, oh, some big secret, but like I think that if you can shut down,
if you stop the best running back in the game,
if you can shut down Saquon Barkley and almost game plan to do that exclusively and force them to rely on Daniel Jones, you're probably going to put yourself in a good position to win that game. Which I hate saying that about Danny Dimes because I do like the guy. I think he's a good quarterback, but he's not a quarterback that's going to go out there and win you games. He's going to put you in position to win games, but he's not going to win them for you. So if you focus on Saquon, shut him down, probably doing yourself a good service there. Let's jump over.
This is a little bit of a tangent. Are there no bye weeks this week?
There's no bye weeks.
No byes.
It's interesting.
Look at there.
Yeah, there's no bye weeks this week, but there are over the next 3.
Right.
So,
yeah, weird.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Who knows?
Actually, it's just over the next 2. I think week 15, everybody's back. Anyways, moving on to the primetime matchup on Thursday night, we have the New England Patriots 6-4 coming off that big win, I guess, over the Jets. They played very well. They got the big win on the punt return. Heading in to Minnesota to take on the 8-2 Minnesota Vikings, coming off a loss to the Cowboys where they just look overpowered in all facets of the game. Minnesota only 2.5-point favorites. I think that's a little disrespectful to Minnesota. This Patriots team hasn't been playing exceptionally well. I think they've been playing good defense, and the offense has been so-so. Largely because of Mac Jones. Ramondre Stevenson has been fantastic in the backfield for them, but Mac Jones has not been good as their quarterback. So I think it's a little disrespectful to only give Minnesota 2.5 points, especially at home. But is what it is. Vegas does what they want. I'm rolling with Minnesota. for whatever reason, I really like this team, and I think they're more talented than a lot of people think. So I'm rolling with the Vikings. Who you
Well,
got?
I mean,
Aaron?
they're 8-2. What do you mean, like
There's a lot of people that aren't giving them the credit for
that's
being eight and
weird.
two.
That's weird.
A lot of quote unquote analysts out there are still saying that for whatever reason, Philly, Dallas, and San Francisco, who are 6-4, mind you, are the three best teams in the NFC, completely disregarding this Minnesota team.
Yeah, well, I will say I understand the San Francisco one because I still think San Francisco is one of the top teams in the league. They just
I agree,
had a
but
lot of injuries to start off and it's bumpy road, and I think that they'll straighten out. I do
sure.
think that this Vikings team has kind of overachieved. We might be looking like at a similar situation to to the Cardinals last year. I'm not saying that I don't want to. I'm not going to throw them in that category. The Cardinals came out
Ooh,
and lost 7 in a row. But I think that maybe the first slate of games inflated their record a little bit.
possibly.
Because again, they were real close to losing that game against Buffalo. Statistically should have lost that game.
But they didn't, you know.
They didn't. I'm not trying to discredit them.
I mean, all you
point.
can do is play the games on your schedule, and so
I get it, but you know what happened on their schedule last week? They got absolutely obliterated
yeah,
by a Dallas Cowboys team who just got beat by the Packers. So, I don't. Again, I'm not gonna play this team beat this team and that makes them better. Like, I'm not gonna do that.
Right.
But like, the Cowboys looked weak and then blew them out. So I don't know. I'm not saying that I completely discredit them. I do think I'm with you that it's like I think that they have earned this record. I think they're more legit than the Giants.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not crazy. I'm gonna take the Vikings. I think that I would take that. I mean, if I were a gambling man, which I'm not, I'd take that 2.5 for Minnesota. I think they're gonna lay a smackdown on the Patriots. I mean, that's so weird because that means if they were playing on a neutral field, they would give the Patriots a half a point.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. I mean, to me, this line should be closer to about 5 points. I think 5 points is the sweet spot. I think that's about right. But is what it is. I think what it is, honestly, is it's a primetime game. And we all know how Kirk Cousins historically performs in primetime games.
That's true. I didn't
not
think about that.
Good. Big game Kirk is not who you want as your quarterback. So it's interesting. It'd be interesting to watch. We'll see. And to me, the difference between this 8-2 Vikings team and the 7-3 New York Giants is the talent level. The talent level of what you have on this Vikings team versus what you have on the Giants team is drastically different.
Very different.
And so that's why I feel like this 8-2 is way more legit than the Giants. And I know that I just said a few minutes ago, you can only play who's on your schedule. But I don't know. That the talent is a big factor to me, and I think that a lot of the talent on the Vikings is being overlooked. Kirk Cousins has been overlooked for most of his career, and I don't understand it. Like he's a good quarterback. Is he a great quarterback? No. Is he a very good quarterback? Yes.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I understand his problems when it comes to primetime games. I get it, but I think that he deserves more credit than he gets.
Listen, if you think about his primetime games this year, it was the Eagles. Like that's his primetime. So for that, it was the cards he was dealt. It's like go beat potentially still the best team in football.
Right. And in week 2. Nobody knows what kind of team they are in week 2.
No. So I think that the Vikings against this Patriots team in primetime, I hope we get to see Kirk Cousins shine.
I hope so too.
There. But we'll see.
I don't know what it is, man. Over the last couple of years, I've become a Kirk Cousins fan, and I really like this guy.
I do too, man. I've liked him since I thought he was solid when he was in Washington.
I agree. I think Washington was stupid to get rid of him.
Absolutely.
Anyways, let's move over to Sunday. We have, starting us off, over on CBS at 1 p.m., we have the Baltimore Ravens heading down to Jacksonville to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Jacksonville still has a lot to figure out with that team.
Yeah.
They're heading in the right direction. I think, as we mentioned, Trevor Lawrence making some progression in year 2. They've got a good thing rolling down there with ETN in the backfield. I think they've got a lot of good going on the offense. A lot of question marks still on that defense. So things to figure out over the offseason into the draft. Baltimore coming down. Baltimore did not look good on Sunday.
No.
Uh, they were playing. I'm trying to remember who they were playing. I'm pulling it up right now. Playing the Panthers. They only won 13-3. Like they looked.
And that touchdown came pretty late. That game was close.
It was way
the whole
closer than it
game.
should have been. That is definitely something to potentially be concerned about with Baltimore. But I still think Baltimore is one of the best teams in the league. I've got them winning this game. They're 4-point favorites. I could argue that should be higher, but I get it with their most recent performance. But I'm rolling with Baltimore. I think they're a good team. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm with you. There's no reason to bet on the Jaguars at this point of the season. They just continually disappoint. And if you bet against them and they beat you, it's like, okay, fine. I'll live with that one.
Yeah.
This Jags team, they've got a lot to figure out and hopefully head in the right direction. I
think
like
they
what
are.
I've seen from them so far. We just gotta see if they can keep it rolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going Ravens.
Well, let's go up to Cleveland, where we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading into town to take on the Cleveland Browns. I believe this will be Jacoby Brissett's last start, assuming that Deshaun Watson does in fact start next week when he is first eligible to come off that suspension. But anyways, we have Tom Brady and the Buccaneers coming into town to take on the Browns. They are 3.5-point favorites on the road against Cleveland. This Cleveland squad, I think they're just kind of buying their time at this point. I think that it was fun early in the season. You had a passionate Jacoby Brissett back there that really, was lighting up that offense. And you still got Nick Chubb out there running like crazy every week. But I think they're just they're at a point where it's like, okay, well, we know who's going to be playing quarterback for us, eventually. We're just kind of biding our time to get there. And I've got the Bucks. As much as it pains me to do this, I've got the Bucks win this game. I think that they're the better team, and I think that they're also more hungry right now because they need every win that they can get because of what they've done earlier in the season, putting themselves in the position that they're in, only at 5-5. So I've got Tampa. Who you got, man?
I actually am going with Cleveland in this one.
Great. I love to hear that.
I think that I don't know what that's supposed to
I
be.
love because I want to see Brady lose. That's what it is.
Okay, good. Okay. There's a couple so the bright spots on this Browns team are their pass rush. Tom Brady does not do well, especially at this point in his career. Does not do well under pressure. So if they can get pressure, especially up the middle, which is what really gives Brady struggles, if you can run some stunts with Myles Garrett and get him pushing up the pocket and collapsing the pocket from the middle, Tom Brady's going to struggle. So if you can do that, and then with Nick Chubb and just pound the ball, keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands, I think that's a formula for success. And so the Buccaneers have had weeks where they couldn't stop the run, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason. Like they're still statistically one of the better run defenses in the league. That is a lie. They used to be, and they no longer are. They're about middle of the pack now, in run defense. So, if they're giving up 116 yards a game, and then you're going to come up against a Cleveland Browns rushing attack that sits like top 5 in the league, getting 150 yards per game, that's a bad matchup.
Yeah.
So I think that to me it's a matchup issue, and that it's in Cleveland that really is why I picked them in this game. And so I don't know. I just think that Cleveland has enough in the right spots that makes this a matchup issue for Tampa Bay. And so I'm going to take Cleveland in this one.
I like it. Yeah. I'm fine taking a loss there if it means that Brady takes a loss. So
those are the ones that feel good. Right.
Yeah. Let's move on up to Nashville, where we have the Cincinnati Bengals coming to town to take on the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee coming off that win over the Packers last week on Thursday Night Football. Titans are good, man. They have a good team. I think they have.
I tried to tell you this.
Well, I think they have a very good defense paired with a excellent running back.
Thank
I
you.
do think that
I've tried to tell you their
I
defense is really good.
do think that Ryan Tannehill is not a great quarterback.
It's better than Zach
And
Wilson.
he is definitely better than Zach Wilson, but he has not been great, especially this year. And I think they're definitely hurting without AJ Brown. Although on Thursday night, Tannehill looked fine. I think he went something like
Mhm.
22 of 27 or 28, something like that. It was
Yeah.
very, very good game from him. But Cincinnati on the road, they're 1.5 point favorites. And I think that's fair because I think this Bengals team is starting to come into their own form.
Yeah.
They are
They're starting to look like themselves.
they are dealing with some injuries. I believe Jamar Chase will still be out for this game. I'm not 100% sure of that. And I think that Joe Mixon had some kind of injury on Sunday
Ooh.
as well, which that's a big loss if he can't play. Yes, Joe Mixon questionable, Jamar Chase questionable. Those are two key pieces for that offense. But I still believe in Burrow enough to get the job done with T. Higgins and Boyd and Hurst out there in the passing game. So I'm picking Cincy in this one. Wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee does pull out the win. But who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I think that Tennessee is the better
Yeah.
team, especially with the state of the Bengals health wise right now.
Mhm.
But I think that Tennessee is just their defense is so solid, and I don't believe in this Bengals defense well enough to believe that they can actually do anything about Derrick Henry, who is currently my favorite player to watch in the NFL. I love watching Derrick Henry run the ball. He just is. He reminds me a lot of like prime Jerome Bettis. Jerome
Mm.
Bettis was just so like Jerome Bettis is part of the reason that I fell in love with football. Like I loved watching Michael Vick and the Falcons was my team, but then I just loved the bus man. He was just such a as a big boy. I loved watching him be a big boy and just run people over, but then also just juke the mess out of them was so fun. I love watching Derrick Henry run through arm tackles like people aren't there. Like he doesn't even
Mm.
slow down and then he will run by a safety. And it's like, I don't even understand how that's humanly possible. I feel like I'm watching prime Bo Jackson. Um, so yeah, I think the world of Derrick Henry. I really like this Titans defense, and I think that their passing game is what it needs to be, which is enough of a threat to where if you just key in on Derrick Henry, they can beat you a little bit to make you pay for it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Titans in this one. It's at home. It's another big factor to me.
Yeah, I think that I'm looking at the team stats for both of these teams currently, and I think that we're in for a bad defensive matchup for both teams in this one.
Mm,
Rushing yards allowed for the Bengals, 117 a game. That ain't a great
not good.
matchup against
No.
Derrick Henry.
Uh-uh.
Passing yards allowed for the Tennessee Titans, 288.1 per game.
Ooh,
That ain't a great matchup against Joe Burrow and the boys.
no.
So it's a tough matchup for both of these defenses.
Yeah.
As a whole, the Titans are giving up 370 yards a game. Bengals just 337. So Bengals can slow down Derrick Henry. I think they're in good shape.
Good.
Otherwise it's could be a long night for them. But
Yeah.
yeah, that could be actually a very sneaky good game
Oh, I think it'll be
on
a good game.
Sunday. But let's head on down to Miami. We have the worst team in the league, the Houston Texans. I think we can definitively say they are the worst
Mhm.
team in the league. Um,
Let's just definitively say it.
definitively calling the Texans the hot
Worst team.
garbage that they are. They are terrible. They are the worst. And they're heading into Miami to take on a very, very good Dolphins team. This Miami team are 13-point favorites against the Texans at home. I think that's spot on. We have said about the Texans that they do make their opponents look bad.
Well, they didn't this last
And
week.
they didn't this last week. Commanders look fine against them, and I think the Dolphins are going to look fine against the Texans on Sunday. There's no way that I can justify picking this Texans team at any point throughout the rest of the season. So I'm rolling with Miami. Who you got, man?
Yeah, same. My favorite insult about calling something terrible is dog water, and the Texans are dog water. Just gross, disgusting. I don't want to touch it. Dog water. The Houston dog
Uh,
water.
yeah, it's pretty spot on. This Miami team, they haven't lost with Tua as their quarterback.
Nope.
Uh, so that's
Very good.
that's
Very
something
good football
something to
team.
watch. Very very good football team. I do think that their defense tends to keep games closer than they should, um,
Mhm.
at times, but I don't think it's a problem when you have an offense that's as good as that Miami offense.
Yeah.
But it could come around to bite them in the butt when playoffs come around. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see when January gets here. For now, let's go up to New Jersey where we have the Chicago Bears coming into town to face the New York Jets with a new quarterback, maybe. Potentially making a quarterback switch from Zach Wilson. We don't know currently. Um, Vegas is betting that they're not, I guess, because they're 4.5 point favorites. I guess they're saying that I don't know what Vegas is saying by that. The Jets 4.5 point favorites over the Bears. I don't know. I thought about picking the Bears in this game because of the electric play of Justin Fields, but I think that Jets defense is so good, man. I think they're
Mhm.
so good, and Fields is banged up and hurt. So I'm rolling with the Jets. I don't love it. I don't like picking it. Um, I would feel more confident in my pick if Robert Salah would go ahead and come out and say, "Hey, Zach Wilson's not our starter on Sunday. We're going to go with Joe Flacco or Mike White." But we'll see. We'll see. For now, I'm rolling with the Jets. Who you got, man?
I don't know, man. I think that Zach Wilson, for the most part this year, has not been. I don't know. Maybe he has been. I don't
He
know.
has been.
Like he's bad.
He has been.
Um,
The thing is their run game has been good enough to overshadow his flaws, and their defense has been good enough to where they've stayed in games that they probably shouldn't have stayed in, and eventually pull out the win because of that.
yeah. Yeah, I think that this Bears team is just they're so lopsided. Like
Yeah.
watching them firsthand on Sunday, well, kind of, while I was putting up Christmas lights. Um, their defense just can't stop anything. It's just
Yeah.
porous. And so I think that the Jets, with their defense as good as it is, the Bears couldn't outscore the Falcons on
Yeah.
Sunday, and the Falcons defense is bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Jets. I think that the Jets are the better team, and the Bears, honestly, they just find ways to lose games. They just find ways to lose, and it might be close, like it has been every game.
Yeah.
This is kind of like that Lions team last year, where they just, I mean, they're like 5 points different from their being winning and losing every game
Yeah.
for the last like 3 weeks combined. So. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jersey Jets here. I'm gonna just, yeah, think they're better.
Yeah. I don't love picking the Jets, but um, that team is winning in spite of Zach Wilson's play.
Yeah,
Uh, and I said this in my our preview about this team that their success relies on Zach Wilson, and it kind of hasn't because of how talented that team has been around him. They've
yeah,
been winning despite uh, uh, Zach Wilson's poor play because of how good that team is. And if you just plug in a good, competent quarterback, that is a team that could win a championship tomorrow.
yeah,
That defense is amazing. The talent around him on the offensive side has been fantastic. The offensive line has been good. It's Zach Wilson being Zach Wilson, the Zach Wilson that I think you and I both expected coming out
yeah.
of the draft. Um, and it's a shame. It's a shame for New York. It's a shame for those fans. But maybe
Yep.
maybe they'll fix it in the offseason. Who knows? Let's move over to Landover, Maryland, where we have the Atlanta Falcons coming into town to take on the Washington Commanders. The Commanders made an announcement this week that they're sticking with Taylor Heineke. Whenever Carson Wentz
For
is
them?
healthy to come off, healthy enough to come off of IR, he will be the backup, at least for now. I think that's the right move. This is
Yep.
a completely different team with Heine running the show out there. And I, he has not been great, and I understand that from Washington fans' perspectives, that they like the energy he brings, but he hasn't been electric or lighting up the offense like you want to see from a quarterback. But he's been good, and they've been winning. And how can you argue with that? Um,
Yep.
I don't know. Washington 4-point favorites in this one. I think that's fair. The Falcons are, they need every win they can get to stay in playoff contention. But they're struggling right now. They did come off that win against Chicago, but it's Chicago.
Right.
I don't think too highly of that. I've got Washington winning this one against Atlanta. I don't like choosing against Atlanta because I do still believe in this Falcons team. But I like this Commanders team, man. I'm rolling with the commies. Who you got?
Yeah, this is a hard one. Like, like how much of it is my bias and how much of it is, just wanting my guys to win or whatever. But like, I was even looking at the like offensive and defensive rankings for these teams, and honestly, it gives you nothing. Like, it's like
Yeah,
the only thing that the Commanders are significantly better at is they have a pretty good a pretty good run defense, but it's like it's top 10, but it's not top 5.
right.
And then points per game, they're like top 5. I think they are top 5. No, I think it's probably about the same. Top 10, top 5. Not top 5. Um, the Falcons are one of the best rushing attacks in football. And so it's just like I don't know. Like when you look at this game, it's like there's no telling what is going to happen. It could be, you know, I could see it being a close game. Um, but if it's a close game, I'm almost more inclined to go with the Falcons because of Taylor Heineke's being
Pension
so
for yeah, yeah,
prone to error. Like,
yeah.
and that's hard to say when it's Marcus Mariota on the other side. Like, it's not like he's known for being, just a surgeon with the ball.
Right.
Um, but I think that the Falcons, they're gonna stick with the run game no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And Falcons being without Kyle Pitts, I feel like that should be a big deal. But with the season he's had,
It's not.
I it doesn't really worry me. If anything,
Yeah.
it makes me think, oh, they can free up more offense because they're not trying to force the ball to Kyle Pitts, and
Right.
they can kind of just allow it to go where it naturally goes, which is less than 10 yards down the field if you're throwing it. And so, um, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think I can probably just face that it's me being a homer. But I mean, these are two teams that I don't think either one of them are a threat long term, but could make the playoffs and
Yeah.
you know be a first round out for somebody. Like,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I'm actually gonna light up the maracas on this one because I feel like this is a sneaky, spicy game.
That's fair.
I mentioned again in the Discord. I mentioned that I don't want to see the Eagles Packers Sunday Night Football game. Like that's not a
Oh,
good game to have for Sunday Night Football. And I mentioned this one potentially getting flexed into it. It's not going to happen because it's the
yeah,
Falcons and the Commanders. But like these are two teams that need every win they can get to
yeah,
stay in the playoff hunt.
they're gonna be playing
And
hard.
like they're going to be playing hard. This is a meaningful. I mean, arguably maybe the most meaningful game of the weekend because of where these two teams sit, hovering right around
Basically the same
500.
record.
Well, if Atlanta wins on Sunday, they will have the exact same record. They will
Right.
both be 6-6. So I think that it's a meaningful game. I think that, like I said, these two teams are going to be fighting for their lives in these games. And the one thing that worries me, man, is that banged up Falcons secondary against Terry McLaurin.
Well, I
And
think AJ Terrell is supposed to be back. I know
is
that
he?
he practiced last
They
week
need him.
and he practiced last weekend. Like, it was like, is he going to play versus the Bears? And then he didn't. And
Okay,
so I think that probably puts him in line to play this week.
they need him. Yeah.
And so, like, that honestly, that's a big factor of why I felt comfortable picking Atlanta. Is it's like if
Yeah.
AJ's back to kind of help with Terry McLaurin, I think he could potentially shut down Terry McLaurin if he's healthy. As
True.
far
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
just like their caliber, I think is pretty close to the same of what number receiver Terry McLaurin is and what number
Right.
corner
Yeah.
AJ Terrell is. So, that could be kind of a lockup that neutralizes Terry McLaurin, and if you neutralize him, I think that's a pretty big swing in the Falcons.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they still have Jahan Dotson, and if he's healthy, and Curtis Samuel out there, so
Yeah,
that they have other options. But yeah, I mean, Terry's the scary one for sure.
yep,
Yeah, I think it's a sneaky good matchup. It's got potential for fun for sure.
yeah.
But let's go out to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we have the Denver Broncos, the lowly Denver Broncos. Can we say they're definitively the second worst team in the league? Um, I mean,
I don't think so.
I don't know who you'd put there instead, but
The Jags? I think the Jags are worse than the Broncos. The Broncos at least have a ridiculous defense.
that's
I'm
true.
tempted to
That's
say the
fair, I
Raiders are
guess.
worse,
That's fair.
even
Well,
though
the
they
Raiders
lost.
just the
It was in
Raiders just beat the
overtime. It
Broncos.
was in overtime.
They
Let's
still
not
beat
act
them.
like it was a stomping.
Anyways, Broncos heading into Carolina to face our good buddy Sham Darnold is back. He is the starter for this team on Sunday for the Carolina Panthers. Denver Broncos head in to face Sham Darnold. 2.5-point favorites on the road for this Broncos team. I guess that's fair. Maybe they're the better team. I don't know. Both these teams have been just drastic disappointments and far cries from where we thought they would be in the preseason. I don't know what to make of this game. I've got the Broncos winning it. Again, I don't like picking the Broncos. I don't think that they deserve any win that they get. But someone's got to win. I'm going with Denver. Who you got, man?
He brought up the Ravens game earlier.
Yeah.
They held that Ravens team to 6 points
Yeah.
for like 3 quarters, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a while, like
Yep.
maybe even 3.5 quarters. Held the Falcons to 15. The Bengals put up 42 on them. That's an outlier. And then the Falcons put 37 on them. Week before that, though, the Bucks only scored 3. The Rams only scored 10. So, like, if you take these last 5 weeks,
None of those are electric offenses, though, outside of Baltimore.
I mean, the Falcons are a 24-point per game team. Like, Falcons are pretty electric when it comes to just like pure
True,
scoring
true.
offense.
It was also in the rain, though.
They're 5th in the league. So the Falcons sit just under Philly and right above Seattle and Miami in points per game. So
That's interesting.
sorry, that's total points. That's not points per game. That's my bad. Yeah, points per game. They're in the middle. But right above the Vikings, which is interesting.
It is interesting.
Above the Vikings and Chargers.
Yeah.
In points per game.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that this Panthers defense, from what I've seen from them the last 2 weeks, what they did to the Ravens, what they did to Atlanta, that defensive line is rough. That defensive line is a bunch of bullies.
Yeah.
I think that defense can hold the Broncos to less than whatever the Panthers are able to score. Now I'm talking myself out of it because I don't. How are the Panthers going to score?
That's the
How
tough
are the
part.
Panthers gonna
That's the
score?
tough part. Panthers. I don't think the Panthers have an offense built to score. They don't have stability at the quarterback position, which is the most important position where you need stability. They traded away their best running back in Christian McCaffrey, although Deontay Foreman has looked perfectly fine coming in as his replacement. But there's not a lot of life to that Panthers offense. And when you're going from a different quarterback week to week to week, you had PJ Walker to Baker Mayfield to now Sam Darnold, I don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe Sam Darnold goes out there and we get what he looked like, the first 3 weeks of last year, but I think more than likely he's going to go out there and you're not going to get that.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. You said You said, are the Broncos the second worst team in the league, and then you just picked them to beat the Panthers. I
That
think
is
that answers
true.
our question.
That is
Because
true.
I'm going to switch and go with you that I think the Broncos can at least score 16 points. And I do not see the Panthers scoring 16 points in this game. I don't see how
Yeah.
that's possible
Yeah.
with Sam Darnold and whatever else they have. I mean, DJ Moore is very good.
Especially against one of the best defenses in the league in this Denver team. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to switch over. I'm going to go with Broncos. You're right. You're good point.
Well, let's head on out to the desert where we have the Los Angeles Chargers heading into Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Both these teams, question marks. Cardinals, are they going to have Kyler Murray? Who knows?
Modern Warfare 2,
Hey,
or Warzone 2 is out. So
it's yeah, they got to let their quarterback go play some video games, apparently. Yep. But the Chargers team continues to be banged up. They did surprise some people, I think, though, on Saturday Night Football against the Chiefs. Came down to the wire. Chargers put themselves in position to where they could potentially win. They did not get the job done, though. I think they're still just a little too banged up, but if this team can get healthy down the stretch and find a way to get into the playoffs, this could be a dangerous team for sure. On the road in Arizona, they're 4.5-point favorites. I think that's fair. I'm rolling with the Chargers. Could I see the Cardinals pulling out the win? Absolutely, because the Chargers are banged up and they're in a rough patch right now. But I think more than likely Chargers they're the better team, even with all the injuries. So I've got to roll with them. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm with you. I got the Chargers in this one. It's going to be hard for me to pick the Cardinals against almost anybody.
I'm with you.
This Cardinals team is not very good. And I'm like you said, the Chargers are very good. They just have these weird holes in different places on their team because of injuries. But I don't think it's enough to it's not like their entire offensive line it's a lot of their offensive line. It's not like their entire defensive line. It's like a defensive lineman and a linebacker and like one offensive tackle, and it's like these weird just holes that makes them still strong enough to win games. Like they're able to overcome it because they're still strong at the quarterback position. They're still strong at the running back position, and their defense is still pretty strong, even having a couple of holes. Derwin James at safety, he makes up for a lot of those. I mean, he's a machine.
Definitely.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Chargers in this one. I don't think very highly of I don't know if it's Kyler Murray or what's his face? What's the coach?
It's Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah, that's who it is, in my opinion. I think he's got to be the next coach to go. If he still has a job come Black Monday, I will be shocked. I just don't think that he has done anything this season to warrant that. But
maybe it's the death of the Wonder Kid. Sean McVay was like, "Hey, he's the new mold," and then there's all these coaches that it's like they are not the mold. Get rid of them.
They are not.
These kids have no idea what they're doing.
Well, let's go up to Seattle. We have the Las Vegas Raiders coming to town to take on the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle, I think they're currently still sitting in that number one position out west. But the Niners are coming. They're tied with them, and I think the Niners are the better team for sure. But Seattle can still go out there and win the division. There's definitely still the wild card in play. So I think they've still got a lot to play for, and they're 3.5-point favorites at home against this Raiders team. I could argue that it should be more, but I think that very similar to the Giants and the Jets. I think a lot of people just haven't quite bought into this team, and maybe that's deserved. Maybe it's not. They're definitely shocking people this year. Coming off their bye week, I think they'll be feeling good. I've got the Seahawks beating the Raiders. I didn't think I would pick that before the season because I thought the Raiders were going to be fantastic, but they look like stinky poo-poo. So I'm going with the Seahawks. Who you got, man?
I think it's mostly just we thought that the Seahawks were going to be the worst team. We were like, it's either the Seahawks
That
or the
too.
Giants are the worst team in the
That
league, and
too.
here we are, never been more wrong about anything in our life. So, um, why we were sleeping on the Texans being as bad as they are. Um, yeah, I did see the Raiders. The Raiders are on pace. I think I had them at 6 or 7 wins. Um, so I'm still feeling pretty good about that pick. But yeah, I'm with you that I would not have thought that I would be taking them, like picking these games before the season. I would have picked the Raiders in this game. Um, but now I'm taking the Seahawks. Seahawks look like the significantly better team.
Yeah.
I know that their wins might be flukes, but you could argue that about all 3 of the Raiders wins that they looked like flukes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, give me the Seahawks in this one. I think this is almost a cakewalk for them at home against a Raiders team that is pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders. I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders figured some stuff out and were able to potentially upset the Seahawks. That wouldn't shock me because of the talent level of this Raiders, especially the offense. But they just haven't put it together.
The
So
Seahawks defense is pretty good.
where, like, how though? Like, how is
They
like?
got rookies that are solid, and
I
I think
mean,
it's a system
sure,
thing. Like it's like
yeah,
they're I think they're playing above what everybody expected. Um, but then the Seahawks offense is just, I mean, elite.
yeah,
Like as we all know, Geno Smith is one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. So,
yeah.
he's put him up there with Brady and Breeze and Rodgers. He up there with that tier of quarterback that he deserves to be with.
All right, I've got to let Luna out real quick, and
Okay.
then I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
man. Go for it.
Come on, Lou, let's go.
It's a long one, man. When we have to pick all these games, that's a lot of picking that has to take place. Forgot what it's like to pick 400 games in a single episode. Oh man. I've been told that there's a lot of dead air for those of you who are sitting here, so I'm trying to fill it. Be kind to those who are watching us on the YouTubes.
What's up?
I was talking to the people who's going to watch later.
Oh,
Because I was told that when you watch the YouTube later, there's just a lot of dead air. So
yeah.
I was trying to fill it so it's not as lonely and awkward for those who are sitting and
Okay.
watching
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go up to Kansas City, where we have the Los Angeles Rams
Let's go. Let's go.
hobbling their way into Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs
Can
are
we call them the Los Angeles Lambs for the rest of the season?
sure. I mean, they certainly can make an argument for being the second worst team in the league.
Oh yes, the Lambs. They're
The,
very bad.
the Chiefs are 14.5-point favorites, which is probably spot on. I don't see the Rams even covering that spread. This Chiefs team is very good. For the first time all season, we have a unanimous number 1 in our most powerful
Ooh.
rankings. It is these Kansas City Chiefs.
Those haven't even been released yet, have they?
They have not been officially released,
Ooh.
although I did tally everything up today. I will say I'm not happy about who got the 10th spot. I don't think it's a team that necessarily deserves it, but also we all had a different team in the 10th spot. So if you want to fix our rankings, hop into the Discord and vote.
Yeah.
But Chiefs were unanimous number 1 across the board, and deservedly so. This is a very good team. This Rams team is not very good. Obviously, I'm going with Kansas City. Who you got, man?
Yeah, same. I don't think there's much to talk about with this game. I don't think we even need to. The Lambs are bad and the Chiefs are good.
Yeah, and Patrick Mahomes is looking like the MVP currently. I would say.
Oh man, Geno Smith. All aboard the Geno train.
I mean,
Choo-choo.
Geno is a fun story. I will say that, but
That's why I'm going.
Patrick Mahomes is he's on a different level.
Yeah.
Let's go out to the Bay Area where we have the New Orleans Saints heading out to take on the San Francisco 49ers, currently San Francisco, 9-point favorites at home. Pretty fair. The Saints team is not good, although they are frisky. I'll say that. I think that the Saints team can put up a fight with a lot of teams, at least make it a game, and put themselves in a position to where they could win the game, although most times they choose not to, it seems like. But Andy Dalton kind of has revitalized his career out there in New Orleans. He's looking very good. They also announced that Jameis Winston would not be the starter when he is healthy. He shouldn't be, not with the way Andy Dalton is playing.
Did you hear that he was salty about it?
He was very upset about it because, in his words, you shouldn't lose the job because you're injured. Which, I mean, absolutely should. That's
how
what
it
happens.
has pretty much always worked.
Yeah.
When you get a guy who comes in. That's why people were talking about Cooper Rush potentially being the starter in Dallas, is because of how well he played when Dak was hurt.
And let's take a long, hard look in the mirror, Jameis Winston. It's not like you were lighting up the field when you were in there as the quarterback. So
that's true.
Andy Dalton, on the other hand, kind of has been. Andy Dalton's looked really good. I mean, look, Andy Dalton has looked good when he's been
He looked great against the Lambs, but I mean,
he's looked good in most of his games. Maybe not really good, definitely not great, but he has looked good and gives them as good of a chance to win the game as they have out there. So I'm all on board Andy Dalton remaining the starting quarterback in New Orleans throughout the rest of the season. But they don't have a chance against the San Francisco team. The Niners are going to absolutely win this game. There's nothing to talk about here. I have the Niners. Who you got, man?
Yeah, same. I got the Niners. 9-point spread was set by people who thought the Saints were a Super Bowl team before the year started. So I guess I mean that's the only thing that makes sense to me. So yeah, give me the 49ers in this one. Not even close.
Yeah. Well, let's head on up to Philly for Sunday Night Football. We've got the Green Bay Slackers heading into Philly to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly sneaking out of Indianapolis with a win. A very close win. A game that Indy should have probably won. But they let the Eagles back into it. Jalen Hurts rushes in for the go-ahead touchdown.
Maybe coaching?
Maybe. I mean, and you know, that could be fair. It's Jeff Saturday's second start in the NFL. I was really hoping for Indy to get that win. That would have been fantastic. But I do think Indy's a new team, and you know, they're heading in the right direction, I think, up in Indianapolis. But this Philly team, one of the best teams in football, 9-1. Packers literally have to win every game for the rest of the season to even have a shot, and they're not going to do that.
No.
This is the game that I think is going to be the nail in the coffin of their season. Philly 7-point favorites. I think this could and probably should be double digits. I will be absolutely shocked if the Packers go out there and win. Even more so than that weird win they got over Dallas. I would be more shocked by them going out and beating Philly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
it would be a sign that something is amiss in Philadelphia and something bad has happened, because for them to lose to Washington and then barely beat the Colts and then lose to the Packers would be like, okay, something happened here. I don't know what happened, but something happened.
Right. Yeah.
I'm with you. I've got the Eagles. I don't see this game being close. So give me Philly in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've also got Philly. I really wish this wasn't the Sunday night game, because I feel like there's a couple other
there are
better games that could be there in place. But you know, we get Philly in primetime. Everybody gets to see Philly, and that's fun because they've got a good team. So it is what it is. Let's move over to Monday Night Football. Closing out Week 12, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into Indianapolis to take on that Colts team that nearly pulled off the upset over the Eagles. At home, Indy 2.5-point favorites. Yeah, probably fair. The Steelers team isn't good. I don't want to call them bad definitively, but they're not good. I think that on the right week against the right team, they can put up a fight. But I've got the Colts in this one. I think the Colts are heading in the right direction. They're the better team, talent-wise. I think that Jeff Saturday brings some new life, and I'm rooting for Jeff Saturday to have a good interim showing. See where that lands him next year in head coaching talks. But yeah, I've got Indianapolis in this one. Who you got, man?
Yeah, I'm also going with Indy. I think that what they've shown with Jeff Saturday as the coach is competency at offense, that it's like, hey, our offensive line is just going to let Jonathan Taylor run the ball, and then they're going to actually protect Matt Ryan and give him time to throw, and we're going to use him for what he's good at, like 39-yard runs. So I think that yeah, the Colts, what they've been showing since the Saturday move really is to me more of an indictment on Frank Reich, that he was just an absolute buffoon of a coach.
Yeah.
And this Colts team, it should be, and talent wise, is better than what their record is. And I think that against a struggling Kenny Pickett, I think that the Colts are able to find a win here at home. This is another one that, if they were away, I might have been tempted to pick Pittsburgh and probably would have, but I'm going to go with the Colts in this one.
Man, you say struggling, Kenny Pickett. He had a decent day on Sunday. He wasn't great, but he was fine.
Did he play?
The Bengals.
Yeah.
He went 25. The Bengals have a solid defense. It's not bad. He went 25 of 42 for 265 and a touchdown.
25 of 40?
25 of 42, yes. It was right around 60% completion percentage, but it wasn't like, that's not Zach Wilson though. Like he's been
It's
fine.
59. It's 59% completion.
Right.
That
he's
is
also
literally Zach Wilson level.
He's also, it's not literally, Zach Wilson threw 40% on Sunday, but he's also a rookie. Like he is man, you're making me defend this guy every single week.
Because I don't think he's that good. Right now, I'm not saying that he's not going to be bad. I mean, that he is going to be bad. I'm just saying that right now he's pretty bad.
I will say this, Kenny Pickett's not the reason they lost that game. I don't think. I think that their defense was more the reason, which Bengals offense is very good. I will say
right.
That.
Against the Bengals, your hope is that your quarterback can win you the game, not that your defense can. I mean,
right,
I guess maybe it is
but
your
offense. Your offense went out there and scored 30 points. If you're scoring 30 points on the offensive side, you're putting yourself in a position like you should be winning that game.
That's fair.
Again, Pickett didn't do anything to hurt them. He didn't turn over the ball like he's prone to. So
that's true.
Anyways, we're both going with the Colts. There's no point in even talking about the Steelers.
There's not. We're talking way too much about a game that we agree on.
Yeah. Well, as always, we appreciate you tuning in and listening to us, however you are consuming the podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, thanks for watching us on YouTube. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Make sure the notifications are turned on. That way you know when we go live every Tuesday. And you can come in, join in, chat a little bit, talk to us as we record every Tuesday night. But if you're listening to us on Spotify, on Apple, wherever, hey, thanks. If you're listening to us in the car, hope you're driving safe to wherever you're going. Hopefully you get there safe. Don't let us distract you from the road.
Road is priority one. Keep your family alive.
Especially
stay alive for your family.
Especially during the the holiday season that we are in currently. Hope all of y'all have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Eat a bunch of turkey. If turkey's not your thing, eat a bunch of whatever is your thing. Prime rib, ham, however you celebrate.
Fast food.
Stuffing, green bean casserole, sweet potatoes, mac and cheese.
Be thankful.
Mashed potatoes. Now I'm just getting hungry. I'm listing off food. I'm like, Turkey Day here yet? Is it Thursday? I'm ready for it. Anyways, we appreciate it. We love you. Thank you for the support. And as always, I think that's that.
That's that.